All right, if we could take our seats, we'll get our meeting started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Menifee's Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission meeting for Thursday, March 6, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Ms. Jones, could you make the roll call?
Chair Faust?
Here.
Vice Chair Peterson?
Here.
Commissioner Goodvoice?
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
Commissioner Tremblay?
Here.
Thank you. Laz. I've asked Laz Peterson, Commissioner Peterson, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Okay. Everybody can please stand.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're now at item 4 on the agenda, 4.1, recognition of outgoing Commissioner Bill Ackerman. Can I ask all the commissioners to come to the front of the dais? Are you getting the guest honor here? Okay. Let me present him. We'll take some pictures too. Well, as you know, with the change in council and changes were made on the commission, and Bill was not reappointed, then that was his choice. He's got a lot of other things going on in his life right now, and we really appreciate his service. Bill's been served on the commission beginning in 2019 until last year in December. And so in recognition of your service, Bill, we would like to present you with this little statuette that says, "A Word of Appreciation, Bill Ackerman. Thank you for your service, 2019 to 2024 Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission." And I'll present that to you. I've appreciated serving with Bill when he was our chair and when I served as vice chair, and he's always been a stable voice of reason on our commission and had great ideas and suggestions for recommendations to the council on all of the Parks Department affairs. I'd like to give an opportunity to my fellow commissioners if they want to say something.
Bill, I just got to say, stepping into the Parks Commission a few years back, I was kind of the little small fry and the new guy, and the one thing is, I had a lot of mentors to look up to, and seeing you as a role model, not just for a Parks Commissioner, but for anybody in our city, your participation in community events and services and everything else that you do is an absolute blessing for our city and as an example to everybody. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to serve with you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sad to see you go. Bill was my partner when it came to, is it student of the quarter or youth of the quarter? We got to go back and forth and figure out, and also read the amazing things the youth in our community were doing. And it was just so nice to have a familiar colleague and a familiar face to do that with. So you definitely will be missed. And thank you so much for your service.
Okay. Well, Bill, it's been a pleasure working with you. It's been an honor, actually. And you've always got great ideas, and you've contributed greatly to this city and made it the kind of place that we are looking forward to it being in the future. So thanks, and don't disappear on us.
Yeah, I want to say thank you. Our time together was short. I was here just a year, but I did look up to you as a mentor, and you will be missed.
I'd like to ask former Mayor Zimmerman to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, David. I really do appreciate being able to come up and say a few words about my friend Bill. It was an honor for me to be able to appoint Bill Ackerman to the Parks Commission, and I just knew he was going to do an awesome job and that he was going to be a team player. He's going to be somebody that the rest of the committee and the commission would appreciate working with, that our staff would appreciate his professionalism and his demeanor and his style, and also his intelligence, because in his career, he was a PE teacher over at Bell Mountain Middle School. And this is a fun little story. I love it whenever we're out and about, maybe at Foodie Fridays or something, and I see a 30 or a 40-year-old young person come up and go, "Mr. Ackerman," and I'm like, "Why did he say that?" And Bill goes, "He was in my class, 20 years ago." And so anyway, Bill, you're a part of this community, and you're woven into the fabric of this place, and it's people just like you who make perfect parks commissioners. And I was just pleased when you said yes when I asked you to serve, and I knew you would do excellent service, and so well done. Thank you for doing this. It's great to see this great team. To see Tom Gidroyce back on the commission, it also pleases us. He just brings so much to the table, and we were missing you for the last couple of years. So I think we're all in good hands. We got a great team here. Do you guys agree? Yes. Yes. All right. Congratulations, my friend. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
I wrote a few things down because I suffer from CRS. Can't remember stuff. First of all, thank you, Arts Council, for canceling your meeting and to be here. Yeah, thank you all, friends and family, for coming out. And again, thank you, Bill Zimmerman, for appointing me, and all your wonderful commissioners. It was a pleasure serving with all of you. And special kudos to the Community Service Department here in Menifee. And Colleen and I often comment on what an amazing job you do, and you do it with joyful hearts. And we really see those big smiles all the time, all the events, all the activities, the classes from tiny tots to seniors. It's amazing how much activity and stuff is going on here with this Community Services Department. And speaking of classes, there's a great senior yoga class going on at Kay Siniceros on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I know the instructor pretty well, and she does a great job. And Mariana, Rebecca, Corey, and Bryce, thank you. Gabby, thank you. Special kudos to Bryce Howell. I've known him the longest. And just what a wonderful job you do with the parks, the care and the maintenance of the parks, the development of new parks. You've done a wonderful job. And one thing I'm really happy that happened while I was on the commission was getting aquatics going with the city. When the high schools got the swimming pools built, I was a big proponent, advocate of getting swim lessons going here in the city. And I was so happy to see that done last summer, and it's coming up again in the summer. So Gabby, thank you, and everyone for so much for getting that going. As a former swimming coach, competitive swimmer, I was really, really pleased to see a lesson program going. So again, thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you, everyone. And we have his name tag over here in a little box. Put that in there, too. Take his name tag and put it on his door. Probably the bathroom door. All right. Very good. Yeah, thank you. Congratulations again. Thank you. Take care. Okay, wonderful. Take care, Bill. We're now at agenda number 5, approval of minutes, February 6, 2025, regular meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to, any discussion or modifications to the minutes, commissioners? Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Aye. Okay. Meeting minutes from February 6th are approved. Item number 6, agenda approval or modifications. Ms. Jones, do we have any changes to the agenda or modifications?
No modifications.
Thank you. Number 7, item 7 is public comments on non-agenda items only. Do we have any requests to speak?
No request to speak.
Okay, then let's move forward to item 8, discussion items, 8.1, Parks Master Plan Annual Review. And will this be?
So I will be taking that one.
Okay.
So it's a happy item. We will be giving our annual update on our Parks Master Plan activities. So we've had a lot of exciting things happen, a lot of tasks completed since our last update in March of last year. And we have some additional things planned for the coming biennial budget. So just as a review, the Parks Master Plan, original Parks Master Plan was created in 2016. That was revised through extensive outreach and research in 2023. And the document is used to guide allocation of resources within the Community Services Department to meet the specific goals that are outlined there. And again, those goals were the product of extensive public outreach, reviewing existing documentation, and then also planning for the fact that over the time that the original Parks Master Plan was created, our park system pretty much tripled, and our population continues to grow. So you will see that the goals of the Parks Master Plan are separated into the 7 categories here: facilities, amenities, programs and services, administrative, financial, trails and connectivity and open space, placemaking, and technology. And the full document is always publicly available on the Community Services website, and the short link is listed there. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is a highlight of activities or accomplishments that took place since our last update in 2024. So just to highlight a few of these accomplishments, the department did receive an award for the Parks Master Plan, a merit award from the American Planning Association. We have received a couple of noteworthy grants for park development, both in the Quell Valley and Sun City areas. We've started the review or various stages of development for 6 additional parks, and those are listed there on the slide. So that's pretty exciting. We plan to open the Central Park Amphitheater later this year, which will bring a host of new performing arts specific programming to the community. And we had the first, as mentioned earlier, the completion of our first summer aquatics program at Paloma Valley High School. And just to note, those programs were sold out, so it was a success. We also finalized a couple of memorandums of understanding with some nonprofit organizations within the city to help bolster our programming that we offer to the community. That being the Arts Council of Menifee, as well as the Lake Menifee Women's Club, which was approved by City Council last night. And then we have several capital improvement projects that were completed, and we'll go over that a little bit more in depth with the next presentation. Okay, and then here's a highlight of some plans that we have for this next biennial budget based on resources that may be available, as well as budgetary constraints. We will try to accomplish as much as possible, but these are the general goals of the department. So we will be evaluating funding options to revise our landscape design standards, which is a very high priority for the department. We'll continue to look at ways to develop city amenities and parks, and that includes grant funding and working with our developers to create fun new public spaces. We will also be looking at the Central Park Amphitheater, again, to just bolster our performing arts and concert series offered for the community. We will also be looking to replace the roof at Case Sinicero Senior Center. We're hoping to obtain CDBG grant funding for that project. So we will hear back about that shortly. We will also be hopefully breaking ground over the next couple of years on the first city-maintained public park in Quail Valley. As I mentioned, we were preliminarily awarded grant funding to develop a park in that area, so we're looking forward to hopefully being able to bring a park to the community in Quail Valley. We will also be installing flock camera systems to enhance security at our parks. And then again, we'll just continue to investigate grant opportunities. And then one specific initiative would be to transfer our parks still operating on potable water to reclaimed water, and trying to achieve some of those or obtain some of those grant fundings for that project, as well as conducting a parks assessment so that we can plan for future maintenance and replacement of our different park amenities. And then lastly, we are in the process of awarding brand new registration software. So we're hoping to have a host of new modern technology and resources for the community as they're trying to register and view the offerings and community services.
Very good, thank you very much. Commissioners, any comments or questions regarding the Parks Master Plan Annual Review and Progress Update? Tiara.
Thank you so much for presenting it. I don't have any questions. I just want to say, as a resident and also as a commissioner, I've seen such big improvements in the park. I have a young family, a young child, and we utilize them a lot. And it's been really nice to see more programming happening there as far as community events, movies in the park, all of that. I would say most residents have acknowledged and noticed. So the work has not gone unseen. And again, thank you so much for everything that you've done so far.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yeah, so I'd also like to second that one. You know, it's been great watching everything kind of evolve, and you know, just the participation and the community involvement. The one thing that I would like to add is kind of a recommendation to, you know, kind of the strategy. I don't have the item number for the valley-wide, essentially the valley-wide integration, but one of the things, you know, I've been thinking a lot about what would make our operations work a little bit more streamlined. If we had some type of an agreement or MOU with Valleywide regarding their field allocation, and you know, that we could utilize for our field allocation, and then vice versa, you know, so we could actually work in partnership. I know we had board member Christopher Carnes here with us a few moments ago, and he has since left. But you know, I'm aware that there are some discussions going on, and one of the things that would be very, I think, advantageous to our city is if we actually had some sharing of information with Valleywide. That would be both for just our field allocation policy as it is now, but moving forward, if we had any opportunity to actually take on those parks as our own responsibility. There's a lot that we don't know and a lot that we really need to know. And so I think that would be an excellent thing for us to have in our pocket. So that's all I've got to say on that one.
Thank you, Commissioner Gidroys.
That's an interesting observation. I'm glad you brought that up. What I wanted to mention is that our design planning for that new community center, Bryce brought up that we don't have a generator at KC Center in case there's a blackout, and that is a cooling center. I thought if we're looking at replacing the roof and evaluating the budget, we ought to think about working that into it also.
We could definitely look into that. We're actually working with WRCOG as well on some things for the senior center. for solar and a backup generator. Our capital improvement program's looking into some projects that we can do to help that, so we can actually have a backup power source there.
Good to hear. Yeah, maybe there's some grant money out there somewhere.
That's what WRCARG is helping us in that specific thing, looking for grants and ways to fund it.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, we've got a great agenda of things to do, and I frankly think that we're in the right direction, and more power to us. I just hope we have enough budget for all these ambitious things.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do appreciate all the hard work that our community services does, and one thing that I've noticed, especially in the last few years, is kind of the equity and programming around the city, where we've been moving some of our key events to various parks around this city, so they're not all just happening on, Central Park in the old days, or Audie Murphy even before that. That, like this Saturday, we've got the Wildlife Appreciation Day being held over at Banner Village Park, and we've had events, a lot of events on the east side of the city in some of the new communities, and so I really do appreciate that. In building on what Commissioner Peterson said, is it feasible to, as we look towards unification of Valley-wide and City of Menifee parks, that as a phased approach, is it possible that we develop an MOU where the City of Menifee actually takes control of park allocation in those parks that are within the city boundaries? I wonder if we could explore that.
So maybe I could speak to that,
Sure.
Chairman and Vice
Sure.
Chair. Thank you for the suggestions and the questions. So as you know, we're going through a feasibility study in terms of what that might mean in terms of assuming a greater role and responsibility for the parks that are served by Valleywide. But regardless, I think it's worthwhile to continue to pursue working with Valleywide to ensure that we're providing the best service for our residents, regardless of who is operating those parks. And I certainly think that engaging in those discussions would be worthwhile, and staff will work on talking to them about some things ways that we might work together. I don't know that as long as they're responsible for maintaining the parks, I don't think that they're going to let us assume responsibility for field allocation, but certainly I think that they'll be amenable to trying to make sure we're serving our residents.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a formal liaison with them? Is there a contact go-to person?
Currently now, we finally have a City of Menifee resident on the Valleywide.
Yes, so Chris Carnes is the representative for the City of Menifee on the actual board. And then, of course, staff have relationships with Valleywide personnel, so we engage in discussions. And then council does have a Parks Ad Hoc Committee, a council subcommittee that they've established.
If there are issues or ideas, there's somebody we can formally share.
Yes, yes, thank you.
And one other question I had with regarding the environmental review for Quail Valley Nature Park and open space area is, I can't remember the name of the road that leads into the park. It's kind of it's a very narrow road that goes in there, and is there improvements to that road as kind of part of the environmental review? And we just heard last night at City Council what it costs to pave a road.
So our capital improvement program is helping us with the engineering on that for traffic. So there's possibilities. There's Wells and Sierra that are into the park. So there's possibles because they're one-way streets that we're able to one way in and one way out of the park if we need to. Obviously, medical and everything would be able to get into there. But so we're looking at that so that way we don't have to. There's not a huge space in some of those streets to be able to make it a two-lane road. So that's why we're looking at that, to be able to go in one way and come out another way.
Circulation pattern.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Since I've been out of the loop, are we talking about the HOA that was offered to the city?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And it has been, is the transfer been complete, or is it still in progress?
That's still in progress. We're still in negotiations for the land transfer, but we're awarded grant funding and have started working along those lines. So we are pretty close to reaching agreement. We think this spring we should have an agreement coming back to the City Council for approval.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think my other comments are more CIP related, so we can wait till the next session. Any other comments, commissioners, on 8.1? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 8.2, Capital Improvement Program CIP budget update for fiscal year 2025 to 2027.
All right, and I'm gonna take that lead on that one right now. So what we'd like to do is review our capital improvement program. As you can see on the screen here, it's pretty large just in our department. The whole city overall has a pretty big program with streets and different kinds of projects going on. And we'd like to review them, and then we'll get into the next page of the ones, the projects that are still unfunded, that we have different priority levels, and recommendation from the commission to see, if we wanted to move some up, what we can on those project priority-wise, and then the 2 new projects that we're proposing that are going on. So I'd like to just go over a lot of the projects, larger ones that we've completed, and then a lot of them that we are still actually have on, because we have a lot of larger projects that we'd like to complete over the next couple years and really concentrate on those. And that's why ourselves internally, we have not added a lot of little or larger projects in there. We could always add things onto the list, recommendation to council, and see what they can do doing that. But that's why we wanted to definitely look at the ones that we've completed. There's a lot that are construction, and there's few in the next couple of years that will be in construction that we will end up taking over. The Peterson Dog Park was a smaller project, but that one was completed. The senior center sign that's went out a couple years ago, and now we finally got a new one. It's a good site that's there. You can see all the advertisement and everything. The Sun City Median, the landscaping there was completed, and that's been a project that's been wanted to be completed for the Sun City residents for a few years. Back in, I think it was 2015, the eastern medians were done there, and then on Sun City Boulevard they were done there. So we finally completed those. 10 years later, we're able to say we're completed with the third last center medians that are in there. One of the largest, 2 of the largest ones that we've had is the Quail Valley Fire Station. Obviously, that wasn't community services, but the city was doing that. Was our capital improvement program, but that itself was a huge project to complete, and the biggest one is the Holland Road overpass. There's still some landscaping and everything, but the main corridor and everything for the residents to get over. So that was a large project itself for the capital improvement. Then we have the amphitheater that is in construction now, again, that will be completed this fiscal year. There's the park lighting projects, there's Paloma Wash pedestrian bridge, and then the parking lot, the Civic Center parking lot. So all 3 of those are going on right now that are will be completed this fiscal year. And then actually this calendar year that are coming up. And then just in the design is the park restroom for Gail Webb, the park and facility multi-use trailers. Those are the locker rooms for the community service staff. And then the biggest ones are going to be your Laladera Park enhancements that we're in design right now. So we're adding, as we brought back to commission, we have the other ball fields. We have make sure we have safety and things like that for the balls between the playgrounds and stuff. And then the Sun City Park development, which will be under construction and be completed, what we're anticipating in the winter of 2026. And then what we were discussing a few minutes ago is the Quail Valley Park as well. So we're looking at these larger projects that we're really trying to complete, to open up for the public to be able to use new parks, new amenities that are definitely needed. The community needs are definitely, that's what we're looking for coming off the master plan on those. And then that's why we'll go to this one. So
Can we pause though for just
absolutely.
a second, and just because that's a lot to just that first phase of what's completed, what's in construction and design. Just a few questions I had. The AMR skate park improvements, is that the
It's the ranger station.
Ranger
correct.
station?
The ranger station and the ticket booth for the staff that staff the skate park. So we're working on the final little things for that to be able to go out to bid on that. So that one will be out, hopefully within the next 45 days, we'll be out to bid and have, be ready to bring that back to council for construction.
Thank you. And then on the park and right-of-way signage, I know you made some presentations to us on standard signs at each park. Is this a separate project now from the monuments and things, the entrances to the city, and that it was being discussed at City Council a year or so ago? And
So we're looking, and
Right, is
I'm
it
sure someone
coordinated
will
with
also jump
that,
in, but we're actually combining those. It was involved in that, the park signage. So
Sure.
what we're doing is working with a firm to be able to make the signage that we had brought forward to you guys to correlate with that, what council has already approved for that, for the wayfinding signs, and then there was park signage in there. So that's what we're looking to do with that is, yeah. and
So this particular project was specific to like the park rules and some of those more specifically. But we do, as Bryce mentioned, are wanting to make sure that's integrated because council did adopt a sign program, if you will, with some design standards in there. And so we want to integrate those two pieces, making sure that we're able to update those signs and that they will be something that will be long lasting and really provide good information to our community and have a little bit more interactivity that will be on there with our QR codes to provide updated information on hours and usage, how to report if there's vandalism, all of those kinds of things that would be integrated into those signs. So that's all part of that project.
Excellent. Yeah, I guess I missed that the council had actually approved a concept. I thought they were still kind of weighing in on the design and tying in street signs and things like that, standardization.
So there just were broad parameters that were established for our wayfinding signs throughout the city. Some of the components that had been presented in there, including like some of the freeway overpass elements and those kinds of things, did not move forward. Some of the art elements in the park, they didn't move forward with, but just in terms of general signage parameters, that was integrated to some degree. So that's something that we'll work on blending and then bringing back to council for final approval.
When you say wayfinding, you're talking about the park is this way, make a left, that kind of a signage?
to large, similar to that, yeah. And then amenities that would be the amphitheaters here or a large amenities for the public that they're going to be looking for.
Help guide people in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bryce.
Absolutely.
Apologies. Go forward.
And then there's, so what, I'll go to a couple things. There's a lot going on this slide. The two projects that we are looking to add this year, the first one is the Quai Cisneros roof rehabilitation. So it's actually the inner membrane on top of the building, not where the tiles are. We did that a couple years ago. The outside of that, we got a grant and we did the paper and everything that was underneath there. So what we're looking to do is this, what's actually really needed is the silicone membrane that's on it's the white top that you don't actually see from the ground or anything like that, but it's just, it needs replaced. What we're looking at getting it replaced with a 20-year warranty. So we don't have to, for the next 20 years, you know, it's something that we're trying to look for. So we have some proposals, we know what the cost is, but that's why we were looking for that $100,000 that we're gonna be asking for on that. And then another larger project is our LMD right-of-way. So a lot of those, that's the lighting and landscape maintenance districts that we have. They're older districts that were created in 1989, so some of them don't have as much money, and we cover a lot of that with our general fund to pay for that. So there's areas, and we're looking for grants working with EMWD, the Turk conversion, where we can get money reimbursed for that, which would help enhance, obviously, from where the grass is, or enhance the irrigation, but it's gonna be water saving, cost saving, and help our general fund as well as it'll the community, you know, to cut costs. So that's what that one is that we're adding into there. It's something that's needed, and I'm sure with the way the water is, there's a lot of new homes everywhere being built, but a lot of the homes are being built, they're all water conservation. So as they get built, we're gonna run out eventually of keep adding things for recycle water, you know, so we wanna keep cutting down, obviously, what's not usable with EMWD to work with them. So that's what we're looking at, that to help save us costs, but also beautify some of them that are a little older. And then before we get to the priorities, we want to make sure that we see, if you guys have any recommendations, we'll definitely bring those up, but we would like you to make sure you guys come for the capital improvement workshop that we're going to be having. We're going to have 2. So they're a couple weeks apart, April 2nd and April 16th. I know it's coming up in a few weeks, but those are, we're really looking forward to those, see what we can, if what is needed, what you guys recommend on that. And then what the main part that we have is the projects that are unfunded that you can see on the bottom of the screen there. So these are the projects that are priority 3 and 4, so they're lower priorities that we have, but we wanted to see if the commission wants to move any of these up and recommend to council that we have different priorities. As of right now, like I said, we don't have funding for these. So we're looking at grants for some, we're looking at that, but as of right now, we do not have funding for these projects.
Is that your last slide?
Yeah, it was my
Okay.
last slide, I apologize,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioners, Peterson.
I don't think we can go wrong with prioritizing the parkland acquisition. That's something that, you know, as far as land goes, the value does never go down. And, you know, if we had empty land just sitting in our pocket, you know, usable land, we don't have to develop it, you know. But we definitely are in a pretty legit deficit of parkland per resident. So, it's just a thought.
Commissioner Gidroyce?
I agree with Commissioner Peterson. As they say, they're not making land anymore. We're still behind on that ratio of the number of people who live here to the acreage of parks which we want to have. It was supposed to be 5 acres per 1,000. That's our goal. I think we're around 3. So we certainly want to focus on getting land. And if possible, maybe some of these developers would donate us some additional land beyond what they actually are required of. So I would certainly make that a #1 priority out of the things that are listed as priority 3. Salt Creek Trail, we have some issues with getting it completed because of the fact it goes past the oasis, but we still should look into doing what we can with what we've got. So I would put that up behind that. And as far as Nova Park's restroom, that's been a park for many, many years and never really had an issue. That could certainly stay in the background to me. The Quail Valley Trail fence replacement, that's important. We want to make sure that we have money to take care of what we already have. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
My thoughts on those unfunded, certainly part land acquisition. I think what stays where it says nature park is like a historical park type of thing, land for a historical park.
Yes, I do believe that was
Heritage
added
Park.
to the CIP program when we had completed our parks master plan, and there was reference to kind of like a regional historical type park, and that was, I believe, the intent of that one.
I'd love to see some, funds starting to be like slowly put towards that, save towards that. The low-hanging fruit, like the trail fence at Quail Valley and the Banner Village Park playground, where originally a playground was traded for the splash pad, if my understanding is right, but it kind of limits the use of the park year-round because the splash pad's not available during the winter months. So, but having a playground in that neighborhood park is important. I'd love to see that playground move up on priority as well too. Bradley Basin Park it was kind of a new thing that I hadn't seen before, but I assume this is at Bradley and Holland.
It is.
So it was. I've seen that in other cities where they've used those as soccer fields.
Yeah, and that was the point of this project that's on there, and we may end up asking council to remove this because we've looked into that. What it is it's not possible because of how deep it is to be able to have an ADA walkway down.
The slope is way too much.
The slope is too steep on that project. We've looked at it. The cutbacks would have to be pretty far across to go across the whole, to be able to get all the way down for accessibility wise.
Well, I like the concept, and I wonder if that's something that we can start to think about in future developments where they have to have their flood basins built as part of for flood waters, that it's incorporated in that, especially since it just doesn't rain that often here.
It could be used 85% of the year, and then if it does rain, it gets shut down. But yeah, that is something we can definitely look into.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you. Let's see. So now we're at 8.3, review of fiscal year 2025-27 biennial budget priorities and resource allocation.
All right, good evening, commissioners. I'll take this one. So just a brief overview. We are looking at our upcoming biennial budget, which is going to encompass the next 2 years, 2025 through 2027. And tonight's discussion item is intended to kind of give you a high-level overview of what the budget is going to entail, so we can have a discussion about aligning resources with what the community needs are, as well as, exploring some of the potential financial limitations that might happen in the future. Again, I don't have my crystal ball, so we want to be conservative in how we look towards building and expanding and enhancing our programs in a way that it's both feasible and sustainable in the long term. So with revenues kind of stabling off, we want to ensure that we're offering and expanding where we can and within our means. So again, sustainable growth is key. As a budget process timeline, we want to make sure the commission is aware that there is going to be a public workshop with City Council on May 7th, with the final budget adoption scheduled to go to City Council on June 4th. And then again, as we continue on with our conversations, some of the key considerations we want to kind of take note of as we have our discussion are things like community impact. We want to ensure that we're able to enhance the lives of as many residents as possible. So, of course, the investments, we want to make sure we get our return on investment on either programs or projects and events that we enhance. Again, we talked about the feasibility and sustainability, ensuring that we can continue to offer great services, great quality services continuously to our residents. And then, of course, always looking for additional funding potentials. We're always on the lookout for grant opportunities, not just for park and land acquisition and development, but also on the programming side, which our team has been very successful in obtaining several grants in the last few years for programming, specifically sports programming with the National Park and Recreation Association. So moving on, internally, the Community Services Department has kind of identified a few areas that we're looking at in the next 2 years that we know that are going to impact based on oncoming facilities that are coming on board. We've talked about the Central Park Amphitheater, much anticipated, and we definitely want to program that out as much as we can within our means. We also have 2026 being a big year for the nation. It's our 250th Independence celebration, and so we know that there's been conversations about how do we make that big here in Menifee, and then also the current programs that we have and the need of our expanding or enhancing some of the programs, because we do experience relatively large wait list on some of these things. We talked about our sold out aquatics program, and also the need for young adult and adult entertainment as well. And then we also have some couple things in our senior center. The senior advisory committee is looking to expand their outreach to our seniors by utilizing their senior resource guide and maybe looking at taking that into a more enhanced publication to include additional resources, something similar along the lines of like the Menifee Matters, but targeting our senior population. And on our facilities and parks maintenance side, we're looking at potential investments in our own equipment and materials so that we can maintain our turf, our park spaces, and ensure that it's usable instead of relying on potential rental equipment that may or may not be up to the standards that we're looking for. Bryce and his team do a great job at trying to be proactive at ensuring that our parks can be maintained at the highest possible level while being usable by our residents. And so kind of looking at making sure that we're able to keep up with the usage of our parks, because we all know our parks get relatively well used. And as was mentioned earlier about looking to the future, when we're talking about infrastructure planning, updating our landscape and design standards is something that we're looking to do in coordination with the Community Development Department, so that way when we are working with developers on bringing in new parks to the city of Menifee, we have new and updated guidelines to provide them that meet the expectations of not just this commission and city council, but also our residents. So those are some things that we're kind of considering looking at in over the next 2 years, all dependent upon the availability of resources and priorities as we continue to move forward and grow as a department. So I have one more slide. So some key challenges, we did discuss a little bit about, balancing the existing programs that we currently have within the department. We've got a lot of great activities that happen through our facilities, like the Case Center Senior Center, Lazy Creek Recreation Center, and then a number of programs that happen at our parks. So kind of balancing existing services with new programs and trying to figure out that balance and offset if there's something that we want to enhance or grow. Is that something that we may need to either repurpose within the department or within our program areas? Also looking at, again, at sustainability, that we do have limited resources when it comes both to funding allocations as well as staff time, and so ensuring that we're able to offer quality programs to programs and events to our residents, while keeping that in mind, with limited funding, which is causing us to have the prioritization conversations. As I mentioned earlier, we're always looking for grant and scholarship sponsorship opportunities. Those are things that, we are trying to enhance our opportunities working with our economic development department, as well as our new and growing businesses, to help support some of our event and programs, and to offset some of the cost that continue to grow throughout the years. We're also looking at furthering our collaborations with local nonprofit organizations. We talked about our partnership with the Arts Council Menifee, the Lake Menifee Women's Club, and there's so many nonprofits out here in Menifee that are willing to step up and work with us to engage on creating either new or enhanced programming that we're not working against each other, we're working with one another to add benefit to the community. So, and then also as a future agenda item, we have the future conversation about fees, our program fees, our facility rental fees, and so that kind of plays into revenue generation, and so we look forward to having that conversation in the future. But those are all key things that go into as we focus on what our goals are for the next 2 years and what we can accomplish within the budget and the resources that are allocated to us. So that pretty much concludes my report. If there's any questions or conversation or discussion we'd like to have, we'll be open to answering any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Tom, Commissioner Goodroyce.
I'm just wondering where we are budget-wise now in comparison to where you want to be in this next bracket.
Okay, are you talking about like our operating budget?
Yes.
So that's to be determined.
Okay.
We're currently looking at similar to like a rollover budget where our operations are just over $5 million in the general fund, and that's where resources can be limited. But that doesn't include all the special districts that take care of our park maintenance, and so that's kind of separate. So really, when we're talking about this budget allocation period, it's looking at what general fund resources we have available.
Alrighty, thank you.
Commissioner Peterson.
I just have a quick question. Is in slide 11, is that Underwood Park? The one with the rainbow? And
Actually, that's AMR.
That's oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was,
What happened to AMR?
so that was that's before it was open, if you could actually see the construction fence in there. So that was before we found out the soil and everything that was
This is
built under
sustained growth.
No,
I've
so
got
we
the same
actually are.
problem.
So we're actually reseeding, be resodding that this summer with a different type of turf, the same that's at. We put at Underwood, the same that's at Hidden Hills, the same that's at Quartz Ranch. So we're using a better turf, which will be better for the multi-purpose use.
That'll be summer 25.
Yes.
Cool.
If you look real closely, Commissioner, that rainbow actually ends over at my house on the right side over there. Any other questions, Commissioners?
I do have a question, and I'm sorry if you guys have already said this, but where are we hoping to get this, these grants from is one question. The other question is the amphitheater. Is that gonna generate any sort of income or money?
Okay, yeah, so grants, there's a number of opportunities. When we're looking at parkland acquisition or park development, those are often state or federally funded grants through the California State Department or the Land Water Conservation Fund. So those are some of the key benefactors that has actually helped fund the Sun City Green Space Project as well as the Quail Valley Nature Park. For programming, those are probably more of program-specific. National Park and Recreation Association is one that we recently just were awarded $20,000 for sports for keeping girls in sports, and so we're excited at rolling that out in the summer to fall. And then so it really programmatically we target local organizations like NRPA and the California Park and Recreation Society, and then there's a few other that are available through various organizations and businesses and things of that nature. So we're always on the hunt for any free money that might be available for us to apply for. And then I believe your second question was, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the amphitheater, is that going to generate any revenue for the city?
We hope so. Yeah, no, we are, the City Council established an ad hoc committee for the Central Park Amphitheater to kind of take a look at the vision for the programming in the future. And we do believe, aside from just being a great amenity for our citywide special events and summer concert series and movies in the park, that there's opportunity to work with like a larger scale production company that might be able to come in and host bigger events, larger ticketed type of programs that could be revenue producing. And so that's kind of what, it's to be determined because we're still kind of in the planning phases, but we do want to look at some revenue potential options to offset the cost of operating.
I had a few questions with the with programming. It seems like we're leaning a lot on San Jacinto College a lot lately because of the size of our events. What's the capacity of the amphitheater? What are we projecting? Kind of mid to small level events?
It's
less than 500 or?
No, we're projecting at the maximum about 2,500.
2,500.
2,500, yeah, and that's based mostly on just the parking, the circulation, the impact of the neighborhood. With the construction of the Paloma Wash Bridge and then the future City Hall parking lot being available for the use of the amphitheater, we do feel 2,500 is a good size event that we can target for that location.
I've seen some comments about from seniors on social media talking about there's no seating there, and so they're going to be asked to carry a lawn chair out to the. I don't know if those some of the comments have come back from the surveys yet. Will we see some of the kind of a survey summary at some point?
Yes. Yes. So I think we do have a survey out right now that's kind of getting information from the residents on the type of entertainment they would like to see. But we've also anticipated that as the amphitheater gets used for more of the concert type venue, that we have projections for additional seating and different layouts to kind of ensure that we're meeting the needs of our residents. Because as you mentioned, if you're parking down at the City Hall parking lot, grabbing your chair and taking it down, it might be a little difficult. But we're trying to anticipate the needs as best as we can.
I'm not sure if any of my fellow commissioners have been out to the Redlands Bowl before, out in the city of Redlands. It's surrounded by homes. It's kind of in a historic district as well, but it's it has bench seats as well as hillside seating too, kind of around the bowl where people can just throw out blankets and beach chairs and watch. And they have some excellent programming there too. I mean, it's an amphitheater that can handle stage and music productions as well too. And so so San Jacinto College obviously seems to be for the big events, 5,000 to 10,000 range, and then of course Wheatfield is always used for the 4th of July celebration. And what's the typical capacity when we have like you know, the Spring Fest and things like that, the wildlife appreciation when we're using our neighborhood parks for events?
Typical capacity, I'd say, is between 1,500 and 2,000, just because those events tend to be the type of events where people kind of come and go in waves. So they kind of come, check it out, and then kind of head out, and which allows for other people to come later on in the event. But where we're having La Ladera, the Spring Fest, which is going to be at La Ladera this year, I'd say the max is probably about 1,500 there.
Thank you. And is Community Services actually requesting additional staffing in this next fiscal budget? Because you've identified that staffing is a constraint. Are we looking at bringing on more people?
So great question, Chairman. We will be exploring what can fit within the available revenue. Obviously, for additional staffing, we would have to have supporting additional revenue that could support that. So we're looking at all of the needs, and if we do not have sufficient increased revenue, we'll have to re-examine all of the programming that we have and see what adjustments we need to make sure that we can program all of the new amenities that are coming on board, and maybe shifting some of the locations where we're doing events and those types of things. But certainly we're looking at that. We want to make sure that we have staffing to meet the needs and the obligations that we've committed to as a city.
Excellent. And we are hoping to expand aquatics this next summer? Or we're going to just kind of repeat what we did this last time?
So that will really be dependent. In order for us to expand the aquatics program, we will have to do one of two things. We would either have to have sufficient additional revenue that could support the expansion of the program and the additional personnel that would need to support it, or we would have to re-examine and maybe stop doing something else. So given the breadth of programming that we have right now, I don't know that we're going to be in a position to be able to expand to additional locations, but it is something that we're exploring. And certainly as we have additional revenue to be able to support expansion of the program, we would love to be able to do that.
So are we going to submit as if with a desire to expand our program and then wait for city council to push back, or and say, well, hey, we got other priorities? How does this work?
So the commission, I mean, this is part of the discussion as funding becomes available. This is part of the feedback that we're seeking from you in terms of what you think are the highest priorities as funding does become available, where those resources should be placed. And as we look at all of the programs that we're offering, if the commission felt that it was more important to invest more heavily in the aquatics program versus some of our other programming that we're doing, we could take another look at that as well. So this is your opportunity to provide your recommendations in terms of the things you think are most important from a programming perspective, understanding that there are limited resources and we're going to maybe need to make some difficult decisions about which things are added or things that we look at not doing any longer.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Trimley.
Just out of curiosity, has there been any discussion about raising prices for some of these services and programs? Because I know a lot of them, as you've already stated, fill up very fast, and I know it's like a supply and demand. Maybe that would be able to help staff bring in more staff, but then also open up more spots for families who are interested in these services?
Yeah, that definitely is something that we're considering. The last time our fees were studied was back in 2022. And so as a future agenda item request, we are planning in the month of April to bring back kind of a general overview of what our current fee structure is and some potential changes that we can bring into the new fiscal year to kind of address some of those shortfalls, specifically about revenue generation, because there definitely is some room for improvement.
I guess going back to, because you're wanting some priority recommendations from us, what is our programming budget then? And so, you know, we've talked about CIP, that's one part of the pie, but what is, you know, what are we trying to, how are we trying to split the pie for programming if you want priority feedback? I mean, certainly with the new amphitheater, we spent a lot of money on that. The residents are going to expect that we're using it to its maximum capacity. And then there's still, you know, the aquatics program was very popular, and I can see that really, the residents really wanting that just because of the weather that we have here in the summers and the need for those water activities, especially more swimming, so. But, so what are we looking at? I mean, you mentioned 5 million from general fund resources. Is that the number that?
That's spread across personnel and non-personnel, so personnel and operating. So for it depends on which division you're looking specifically at, but I want to say for operating, we're probably just over, I want to say $2 million, just over $2 million, and that's a combination between parks and recreation, with our part-time staff being an additional $1.2 million. So for the most part, and then the rest of it would be full-time staff. So it's kind of how the pie is sliced, if that's what your question is.
I guess I want to know what do we have to cut if we wanted to expand aquatics? What would you say would we have to eliminate any particular event, single event, or?
It's possible. So the thing is that for the aquatics program, it's relatively staff heavy. The bulk of the programming is spent on our lifeguards, water safety instructors, and pool managers. Mm-hmm. And so out of an annual budget for the aquatics program is just about $250,000. And so that's with staff and the facility usage of one of the high schools. And our return on investment is relatively low because the intent of the Learn to Swim program is to get kids, participating in the program, learning the skill set, so that we can prevent drowning in homes. That's our key goal. But the majority of that is staffing, and so it's really hard to offset that cost, considering that if we were to look at any one of our summertime events, let's say our concert, Menifee Moonlight Market, that typical budget is about $10,000. So in comparison to what the cost of an aquatics program is, it's a little bit of a stretch. So if the resources were limited and were stagnant and we weren't given any additional funding for aquatics, to make that happen, we would have to make some additional movements in other program areas.
I have a question, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Have we considered intern-type programs where we get teens to participate or help and get work experience?
Yes, we have considered that. That is something that we're utilizing at a number of our citywide special events. We have our youth leaders of Menifee that are very involved in all of our events and program areas, and they essentially volunteer to run certain components like the craft area for our events. However, as far as actual programming, we do have some parameters when it comes to safety and safety standards when it comes to our youth programming and some of our, especially the aquatics, programming that would preclude us from being able to rely on volunteers for that.
Tom, okay.
Well, coming back to priorities, I think if we look at the surveys which were put in front of the public to make the master plan, we see aquatics is at the top, as I recall, and I guess it is again the second time. And I think we ought to make sure the council is aware that those priorities are what are stated by the public who have been surveyed. And when we look at the budget, we need to take that into account. As much as we've added other things, we are happy to have them, but we really need to answer to the public in terms of what they think is important.
Commissioner Peterson?
So for us to expand aquatics, we would actually need another pool, right? We're maxed out at our current Paloma Valley.
Yes, it would be expanding to an additional site, which would likely be Heritage High School.
Got it. And that same would apply for if we wanted to expand any sports leagues like soccer, football, whatever, basketball. I mean, we're kind of limited on our space, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So our next commission meeting is not till the 3rd of April, so it's after the first of the budget workshops. But
Chairman, the first of the budget workshops will be very specific to our capital improvement program funding. So they'll start with that and then move into more of the operational costs.
So we got some time. Can I request that we bring this back again at the next meeting as well, too, on programming and budget feedback? Is that?
Is there something specific that you'd like to see in that?
think I'd like to just see what the current projections are for the next 2 years as far as what events are we targeting, and so we can make some recommendations that, okay, maybe we don't need this particular, to support this particular event, so that we can help you prioritize, like aquatics or amphitheater programming.
So pretty much more information.
Yes, I guess so. A little more details on just what are we, how.
So you're wanting some additional information in terms of how our budget is allocated between events and operations and the aquatics program is,
Yes, please.
we can do that.
Is it possible to also, because I know I was talking about increasing pricing for these services so we can continue to provide them? I'm not sure if it's possible to do a projection when it comes to this is how much we've made, the previous year, if we get the same amount of turnout, and then increase it by 10, 15%, what that may look like, just to give a visual, I think would be helpful.
So that was one of our future agenda items, which we were planning to bring back for discussion on fees and making a recommendation if the commission feels that that would, is something that council should consider that we can bring back for them. So yes, to answer your question.
Yeah, I just would hate to see any type of programs or services or events go, just because I think a lot of people have come accustomed to, oh, we expect this during this time of year or this during that time of year. So personally, I would like to see if there's any wiggle room within like a fee scale to maintain our events and still provide the same quality of services.
Agree. Commissioner Peterson?
Yeah, well, to back her up, some of her comments up, when we signed up, I think it was last summer, summer 24, signed up our daughters, for some of the events over at the Case Cenacero Center. The gymnastics class was very limited in space, and one of our daughters was able to get in, the other one was not. And, so it was kind of like, well, so the demand is definitely there. And the same thing applies with the aquatics program. The demand is definitely there. We pay whatever we pay for swim lessons once a week for a few of our children, on a monthly basis. And I mean, it actually is a substantial amount when you really put it all together. And I think as a city, we're actually charging our residents quite a bit less. And we actually plan to sign up for, we don't want to take up all the spots, but we plan to sign up for the aquatic lessons, the swimming lessons this summer. But yeah, I mean, looking at raising prices, I mean, everybody's paying more for everything right now, and I think they're used to it. So, it's something that I think is very important to keep in mind. And we will be talking about that, so.
Have you compared what we charge against other neighboring cities for the same kind of things?
Yes, whenever we set our rates for programming, they're specifically based on the market rate. So we do compare cost with our neighboring cities like Marietta, Temecula, Lake Elsinore as kind of a standard to kind of make sure that we're within the range.
Yeah, I know you gave us a presentation on this year ago or so on the proposed costs and what would cost to double the program and such. Maybe could we just have a refresher on that next month as well?
Yeah, we can definitely do that as a part of the bringing this item back.
That would be awesome too. When it comes to programming too, I know tentatively some of the events that are scheduled through at least through the end of this year. Some of our standard events, Fall Festival and the tree lighting and Day of the Dead. As well as the ones that are coming up in the next 2 months. Are we still planning to do back-to-back Fall Festival and Day of the Dead is it October? Yeah. And can we reconsider that? Day of the Dead is actually the first Saturday in November, and but we are doing it, and the reason I've been told is that to save money on the logistics, on the staging, because it costs money to take the stage, set it up, take it down, and then have to reset it up the next weekend. But Fall Festival is scheduled the 24th of October, and then 25th is the Day of the Dead at the same place. But I worry about event fatigue. We have the Day of the Dead Festival has grown quite a bit, and it's becoming very popular. And but to have two back-to-back festivals right on that same weekend seems a little bit tough to do for people, as you know, in the community to try to attend both that they do enjoy. And I'm concerned about Fall Festival and setup with all the nonprofits and folks that are going to have to take the day off of work to set up to be ready to go by 5 o'clock. I just think it's not something that's. I think it needs modification, needs consideration. At least that's my opinion. That we put the Fall Festival back on Saturday, the 25th, and then move Day of the Dead Festival to the first weekend in the first Saturday in November. Any commissioners have any thoughts on that?
I would look at the attendance numbers.
That's what I was going to ask. Do we know the attendance numbers for the Dia de los Muertos?
Attendance numbers are averaging just below about 5,000
Okay, so definitely out of the amphitheater.
out of the amphitheater as of right now. And we also added the component of the car show, which, yeah, would make it difficult to host with limited parking. But yeah, so our fall festival does average just under 10,000 throughout the day. Families coming and going, with the number of components that we have, and the Day of the Dead is just about 5,000 residents that come out for those. And the initial intent was to try to save cost on, as was mentioned, the facility rental for utilizing MSJC, as well as the staging and production and overnight security, since setup does take place the day before and comes down the day after. And the net savings was going to be about $10,000, which staff was looking to utilize to enhance some of the concert series that might be taking place at the amphitheater, was the intent. But we are open to feedback, and if the general consensus is for the commission to recommend keeping it separate, then we can definitely take a look at making that change.
Any other thoughts, commissioners, or am I just a lone wolf crying in the desert?
It makes sense.
I typically, participate in both and attend both with my families.
I agree, and I think just staying in alignment with the culture. It goes a little bit bigger than just hosting an event. This is a cultural event for many. Even when we go trick-or-treating, certain families, they don't do Halloween decorations. They do Day of the Dead, because it is to respect their ancestors who have passed. So, no, I would agree. I think it would be in alignment with a diverse city, which we have, and a growing city, which we have, to kind of keep that spirit and that culture alive. It would be equivalent to having Christmas in November. You're like, no, I usually do Christmas on the 25th. So shifting that date, even though for some that may not necessarily be significant, but for others, I think it speaks volumes.
Well, even if we shifted it to the actual Day of the Dead date, obviously we're going to lose a bunch of our attendees to Temecula, right? But that might put us in the realm of, hey, we could actually have this at Central Park. As far as, if we want to save some dollars, give and take.
Yeah, those definitely considerations. That was one of the primary reasons why the initial Day of the Dead event was not hosted on November 1st, because the actual weekend, because there are large regional events. But that's definitely something we have not considered about kind of managing the crowd a little better.
Well, one of the things I always hear from the community is that they're tired of going out of our community for entertainment. And so I think it's worth the $10,000 to have these events and have our own signature event here in Menifee. I'm not familiar with the Temecula one. I know Riverside has a huge one as well, but we are Menifee.
We definitely appreciate the feedback, which is why it's important for us to have these discussions with our commission, and then representing our residents. We definitely want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our residents.
Thanks. I think I can hear the cheers out there on the YouTube channel. Thank you. Any other comments on this particular agenda item, commissioners?
Yeah, sorry, just because we were talking about the Day of the Dead and the car show. Is it possible to also include bikes? Because I know we have a big bike community, and when I was in Texas, actually, they did a car show, but they also had bikes with it. It was a car and bike show. So you can either bring your car, if you had a decked out bike, they brought their bike and it kind of staged it there. I figured that wouldn't cost anything really outside of just adding another word onto a flyer or poster. And then it opens the door up for more people, especially people who may not necessarily even have cars, and their prized possession is their bicycle. So
That's
just food for thought.
Yeah, no, that's a great recommendation. We'll definitely look at incorporating that.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Then let's move on to number 9, Community Service Department comments. 9.1, Director comments.
So yes, Commissioners, just a couple of updates we wanted to give you. I think a number of you actually attended our council meeting where we discussed our bicycles, e-bikes, and e-scooters and skateboards. The ordinance update has been approved by the council and will go into effect within the next 30 days, and so we just wanted to let you know that. We will be taking a look at our parks ordinance to make sure that that aligns, and also signage updates that we may need to align with that in some of our trail areas, et cetera. So we just wanted to make sure that you knew that would be forthcoming. And then, of course, as been mentioned, we have a number of council workshops that will be upcoming. We will be looking to do another joint PRTC and our council workshop on the community center design, likely sometime in April. And then, of course, we have our budget workshops upcoming with the capital improvement program, April 2nd and 16th, and then the biannual budget for operating expenditures on May the 7th. And then, in addition to that, we have our placemaking and master plan community workshop, which is scheduled on Thursday, March the 27th. So those are our big updates.
Thank you. I appreciate in the ordinance, the bicycle and e-bike ordinance, that they modified it to identify 20-mile-per-hour speed limit rather than the type of bike that it is. And because a lot of folks were concerned that e-bikes would be banned from most of our trails and things, but they clarified a lot of things with that ordinance. I think it was wonderful, and I look for the continued cooperation between the police department and our local schools too that want to adopt similar regulations and rules for the safety of our children. So wonderful, thank you. Let's move to 9.2 Parks in Progress update.
Yeah, I have a few little updates on here. I'll go quick through it. So Legato, where we have it under design review. So that's actually the large park has not been 100% approved. That's with the multi-purpose field. So there's a lot of, the construction has started there. They're starting to build homes. I'm not sure when they're going to open it up for sale, but here soon. But the landscape right away has already been starting to be installed. And then the smaller East Park with the Paseo is actually out to bid for them to be able to start construction on that. So that one will start, the smaller park inside Legato will start sooner than later. Sun City Green Space, that's the Sun City Park that's in plan review right now through the city. Cimarron Ridge is expected to start, and that went to council about a month ago. Here in the pre-construction, I'm planning on having that in the next 30 days with the builder. And then the next other one is Valor Park. They started grading and everything. That's Banner Park. This across the street, so it's still considered Banner Park, but the name of the actual park will be, the community is Banner Park, but it'll be Valor Park. And then Menifee Valley, we're working on the conceptual design still. We brought that a long time ago just to be able to show, but we're working with the developer. They started the commercial sections of that development, but as they start moving into the residential, that's next to Heritage Lake, we'll make sure we bring that park back. We're doing some adjustments so that we make sure we have enough parking there's some ball fields there, there's a pool, there's a splash pad, so we want to make sure that there's sufficient parking for when there's baseball games going on, middle of summer, everybody's at the pool, we don't want to impact the community. So we're making some adjustments with the developer on that, so we know that at peak hours of use that everybody's able to fit in there. So, and that's all I have for Parks in Progress.
Question, Bryce, on Legato. What do we mean by design review? I remember several years ago, this commission sat down with the, actually, I think it was the architect, and laid out where things should be, how they would look, how wide they'd be.
It's the same as that. So when I say design review, we're reviewing the plans. So the design plans, the actual construction plans that are being reviewed right now. So the design isn't being changed. It's the construction plans that are going in to make sure they have the right amenities in there, the correct irrigation system, correct plant palette, and all that. So the complete construction documents are being reviewed right now.
Which is drilling down into the details.
Correct, so they can get approved plans to start construction.
Versus a plan review, which you have under the number 2 item.
Well, we're reviewing the plans that's what, the construction plan. So that's a small square, so we're reviewing the construction plans is what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely.
Commissioners, any other questions? On Legato, now that does include a small community center, is that correct? And I know we saw kind of a conceptual on that. Is that, have you guys gotten more detail on what's it gonna look like inside?
We'll make sure we bring that back to commission when we do. Just so we have the layout. I know we brought it where you can see how many tables and everything that's sitting there, but we'll make sure we bring that back to commission before they start on that park. I'd have to really look into nail down and see when they have to start that park. It'll be a couple years before they do, probably 2 years, depending on how fast they build. I mean, you never know. If they start selling like crazy, it'll be built faster, but they have a certain threshold that they have to start that larger sports park.
Super, thank you. All right, let's move forward to 9.3, solid waste and recycling update. Cory.
Okay, so just some solid waste and recycling activity updates for the commission. The Spring Shred Fest is coming up March 15th. That'll be held here at City Hall in the parking lot at 8 a.m. to 11. I believe the limit is 2 banker boxes full of documents. We also have on April 15th a public workshop that will be held at the Casey Senior Center. And so with regard to the organics mandate from the state, SB 1383, all residents are required to have their green card. And as we've mentioned countless times before, we all know now we have to put our paper, food scraps, any yard trimmings in the green bin. Cal Recycle has officially stated that we're kind of out of the implementation period, and residents will now start seeing contamination charges on bills. So this is an effort to remind everyone of the legislation, how to properly sort their materials, and then when we're looking at contamination fees, I'm referring to extreme contamination, basically like you're using your organics bin as a trash can. So it has to be a certain level of contamination before you will get the notice. But this will be the first workshop to the community to just let people know that that is something that we can kind of start to expect moving forward. So I also thought, just as informational, in case you've ever wondered. So under our franchise agreement, Waste Management is responsible for addressing litter within 26 linear miles each month within our city boundaries. We also have an Adopt a Street program, which is coordinated through our Public Works Department, which also looks at addressing litter and debris along city roads. And so I've just included a map here just in case you're ever asked or if you're curious as to where we're targeting litter abatement currently in the city. And then we routed 14 illegally dumped bulky item pickup requests in the month of February.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
I got a quick question. Oh, sorry, Mo. When it comes to, we're talking food scraps, food waste, does that include meat and things like that? Like I could just take anything that we didn't use and that goes in the green bin, or is it mainly organic grown, like vegetable, fruit type?
So technically, you don't want to put any really greasy items in the bin. WM stance is that none of us are composters, so that level of knowledge isn't something that's like common. So the communication is any food any food waste should be going into the green bin. So if it's meat, just you can wrap it in paper and then just toss it right in the bin.
Okay, and then out of the illegally dumped bulky items that were routed, how many of those were not in Quail Valley? Do we know?
Of the 14 from last month,
Right.
not in Quail Valley. I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Okay, because that seems to be, I mean, if I have a couch I need to dump, you just drive to Quail Valley and toss it off the side, I'd just be curious to know, but thank you.
But
Do a
that,
lot of
but
that in Romoland, too.
Oh, yeah, and yes, from Land, yes.
now it's pretty spread out with the illegal dumping. So that's kind of what guides the the litter abatement routes each year. So you'll see the green lines are based on where we saw a concentration of illegal dumping happening the year prior. And so each year we try to modify the list to see where we're getting more of our complaints. So yeah, you will see three routes within Quail Valley. So that makes sense.
I have two questions. One is, how will WM penalize people? How will they know who is dumping what into the wrong bin?
So Waste Management has technology on the trucks, smart camera technology. Essentially, it just scans the cart as it's being dumped into the hopper, and then it's geotagged to trace back to the specific address. They have a call center, what have you, if folks reviewing that data. There will be notifications, so I believe 3 notifications prior to getting actually assessed a fee. So the resident would get a letter or an email or a tag to say, hey, we noticed contamination in your cart. Here's a reminder of how to properly sort your waste. And so that should happen 3 times prior to them ever seeing a contamination fee.
I'll add a little something. And so if you were to go onto WM's website to your account, and you can look at when they pick up the trash, the video of them each time they do it is actually on the there. So sometimes your bin gets stuck in there, it disappears. They're able to see if it got stuck in the truck or anything like that, but they're able to see the video every time. So when you look on your account, sometimes it's not there, but that's what Corey's talking about. So they see each time you're dumping, so they're able to see what dumps into the trash truck.
So can they also monitor the amount of trash in your trash bin or your recycle bin? And is there a cost savings if you dump a full trash bin versus a half trash bin?
No, the rates are set. You're really paying for the service to have the truck and the driver come to your house every week and collect your waste items. So even if the cart was empty, it would be the same price.
And the reason I ask is environmentally, does it make sense to, if you have half a recycle bin, does it make sense to empty it out that week or just hold on to it and save a trip, if you will?
For waste management? No, so regardless, based on the county health code and our municipal code, all residential locations have to have weekly service. So they are required to come by on a weekly basis anyway. So if you have any items in the can, you may as well set them out so they can collect them.
Okay, and finally, how does the Adopt the Street program work?
So that's actually handled through our Public Works Department. I believe that's an MOU. So the organization wants to adopt a street. They fill out a form and then contact our Public Works Department, and they have to have a formal agreement to address that road a certain amount of times over, whatever the term of the agreement is.
So if I own a business and I want to adopt a street, is that something I can do?
Yes.
As part of the business? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, we do have one left.
Sorry, it was just a quick one. Just in regards to litter abatement, I was just thinking, is there any programs or people need to do community service where they can work towards litter abatement and cleaning up the streets
That would be a county.
to get community service hours?
You mean like mandated through the courts
Correct.
or for volunteer requirements at high schools and those kinds of things?
Both.
So they're generally not used in city cleanups, that you will see them working along Caltrans and some other areas like that outside of the city limits. But certainly those that are interested in volunteering and doing litter abatement, we would want to do through a safety program. So they would want to go through a formal MOU to do it and adopt a street so that we made sure that we knew that they were out there and working.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jones. 9.4, Recreation Division update.
All right. So for Recreation Division, we have our monthly numbers for the month of February. So as you can see, February is a little bit of a slow time for our recreation program, but the Senior Center is always a great place to go. We hosted our Art Affair for the month of February at the Queso Senior Center, and some nice little pictures of that. And then I also want to make note that that is also our first full month of the AARP tax appointment preparation program. And so far for the month of February, we've hosted 140 appointments. So appointments are still taking place through April 10th. So I encourage people to sign up early. Moving on, we've got our revenue. So that we talked about revenue a little bit earlier. So as you can see, as far as our revenue, our contract class program still continues to be one of our major sources of revenue, and that program in itself is working with instructors in and around the city who'd like to share their skills with our residents, and it is a revenue split. They utilize our facility, and we utilize their skills to bring programs to our community, and for the most part, it's a 70-30 split for utilizing one of our facility spaces, and it continues to be really popular with programs like Taekwondo, our dance classes, and our art classes. So that continues to increase month after month. And our city activity registration fees, those are fees that are typically that come from programs that are hosted and offered by city staff. So that would be all of our Lazy Creek Recreation Center programming and any of our sports programs that happen out in the public. So. And then moving on, so our number of offerings, I mentioned the AARP, that we are still taking appointments through April 10th. And then we also have a number of programs that we are offering. I think this month is Lucky Bingo for for our St. Patrick's Day coming up. And then on there you'll see is the survey that we actually have that's publicly available for residents who are interested in providing input on the type of programming they'd like to see at the amphitheater. So we both have paper surveys and a QR code that's available at all of our city facilities. It'll be up front here at City Hall, our Queso Senior Center, Lazy Creek Recreation Center, and online. And then Lazy Creek is excited to be hosting their spring break camp coming up. We have a couple different options. We have the camp at Lazy Creek, which is kind of a full day camp that will be taking place April 21st through the 25th. And then we have a youth sports camp that we're going to be offering at Centennial Park the 21st through the 24th, which is kind of a half-day option for anybody who's interested in just getting out and getting active, and our parents who are looking for something to do for their kids during spring break. So I believe that concludes my recreation updates.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Just the amphitheater survey will be active for the next.
Yes.
Has it got a deadline at all? Or?
As of right now, there isn't. We are looking to make a bigger presence at our upcoming events. So you'll see a booth and an A-frame dedicated to share your opinions with us out at events throughout the city.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to 9.5, special events.
Okay. Looks like I had a little bit more information. I'm sorry. It's a combination. It's a combo slide. That's what we'll call it. So we have our Healthy Menifee program that is coming back in active for the new year. So a number of activities that we have are like the Healthy Cooking for Kids, our monthly Menifee Moves, which is going out to one of our city parks and walking around and enjoying the scenery and being active, as well as our Healthy Menifee Get Fit program, which is group classes, things like high intensity interval training, which is really great for aerobic exercise. And we encourage anybody who's interested in getting fit with Healthy Menifee to please sign up, register. All programs do require registration, and you can do so either by visiting one of our facilities or going online to cityofmenifee.us/register, and you can take care of that online. And then we have a couple save the dates for the month of April. We have the Spring Fest, which is coming back on Saturday, April 12th at La Ladera Park. And then we also have our annual Menifee Better Together community beautification event that's happening on April 26th, with starting at 7 a.m. and going till about 12 p.m. at a number of different projects throughout the city, focusing on the Sun City home revitalization for our seniors, as well as a number of cleanup projects and replanting projects. Bryce's team is going to have our residents busy, and we encourage anybody who's looking to volunteer to reach out to the city or Habitat for Humanity, where we can sign up residents who are interested in participating in those events. And moving on to our special event update, we do have our Wildlife Appreciation event that is taking place this Saturday, March 8th at, I apologize, I believe that time is wrong. It is actually 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., not 8 a.m. And it'll be at Banner Village Park, where we'll be hosting a number of activities for our youth to come on out and experience the wildlife that's in Menifee. So we do have the traveling tide pools, the Wild Wonders, and then a number of our local agencies that will help focus in on stewardship and conservation of our parks and open spaces. And then immediately following that, on March 22nd, we have our youth fair that will be taking place at Lazy Creek Recreation Center from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So a lot of activities, all things related towards youth. It's free for all residents, and a number of performances, inflatables, fun things for kids. And then on Friday, March 28th at 10 a.m., we will be hosting our annual Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans at Paloma Valley High School. And again, this is a welcome and reception with the formal ceremony beginning at 10:30. And we're really looking to enhance this every year after year and focus in on educating our younger generation about our military that participated in Vietnam War, and then also giving them the welcome that they so rightly deserve. And so we're looking forward to hosting that again at Paloma Valley. And I believe that concludes my special event update.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Okay, let's move forward. Capital Improvement Projects, 9.6. Bryce.
Okay, I'll kind of speed through this one just because we kind of went over a lot of the capital improvement earlier. So really the biggest update would be is going to be the Paloma Wash pedestrian bridge. I have the wrong date on there. It actually opened up already. We went out to bid. They're going to be taking that to council for approval for the installation of that. So that's moving along here, which is a good thing for the bridge. Again, it wasn't being built because of the amphitheater, but it's definitely going to help with the amphitheater going back and forth. It was built for the community that was there. It's a tighter community, so you're able, in walking distance and everything like that, ride your bike or to the shopping centers and can live in there. So and then the Central Park Amphitheater, it still says under there. The other correction is that it'd be fall probably of fall of 2025. So in those time frame that's going to be completed, that's on there. Other than that, that's all the biggest updates that I have for the capital improvements. If you guys have any questions, maybe you thought of from the presentation earlier.
Oh, thank you. I believe correct me if I'm wrong, the pedestrian bridge was a part of the original design of that neighborhood and then was cut, wasn't it?
Correct.
Years ago, so glad that's proceeding. All right, let's go right on to Maintenance Division.
Okay, so our facilities staff, we had 74 work orders submitted, and then we completed 72. They stay really busy. So does our park and our right-of-way staff, as you can see in the pictures there, doing just their updates, upgrades and fixes and everything that we do there. We had 340 submitted for the parks and right-of-ways, 298 of those completed. 13 of those were submitted by residents coming in through the My Civic app. Again, I always try to really push that app. It helps to get those work orders, especially if they see something on the weekend. We're not there, even though we have staff over there, but they're not at every park or every right-of-way 24 hours a day. So if someone sees something in the evening, it helps us out and we can get those completed. So throughout all those work orders that we're doing, we had 277 inspections. That's throughout the parks, checking the restrooms, the ball fields, everything of that sort of at the parks. And we had 101 trees trimmed in this last month, and now you'll see a lot more starting to get trimmed over the next few months. Then moving forward onto the next 2 slides, so you can see, obviously, our park maintenance is a bigger part of the graph that's on the screen there. So Centennial and then AMR, you can see the difference. The Centennial has the 2 ball fields and the soccer field. So as you can look in there, the athletic field preparation is 41% of the time. Park maintenance, just because it is a busy park, it's used 7 days a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's used from 8 a.m. All the way till 9 p.m. So the park is constantly being used on those days. So for how busy it is, it's a great park, and that's why you see a lot of the park maintenance, 57% of that, and then almost half of that is Audie Murphy, and that was because if you think of it's 1 ball field, 1 soccer field, so it's almost half the size of Centennial was for that. So that's why a lot of the park maintenance that's there, but those are our 2 busiest parks sports-wise, and that's where that goes into. And then moving on to we already went over the wildlife appreciation. We just want to promote that with the rangers that are going to be there. You'll see some state rangers, everybody this weekend. At least the sun will be out. That's what was a good thing that we're able to do that. So we had 512 park visits in the month of February. And then the school outreach, we reached about 225 kids going through. So we really like that. You can see December and January it slowed down. A lot of people, schools are out and things like that, so they didn't start, and the schools are starting to schedule. We're here, and we're getting it almost every other week. We're able to get into a school now, so it's a plus. They love it when it's the kindergartners or the 1st grade, even through middle school. The Rangers love it, and to be able to do that. But that's all I have for my maintenance update. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Bryce. Remington gets a lot of use. It's surprising in Remington and the one nearby, the 2 of our newer parks.
Quartz Ranch.
Underwood.
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 Sorry,
yeah,
yes.
saw that their usage is pretty high, and
yes.
And how's the equipment holding up there? I know Remington's got a lot of the ADA equipment, and that zip line thing is really popular every time.
It's held up. There's been some just regular maintenance that we've had to do, even on the zip line, just the wear and tear. I mean, it's probably goes 1,000 times a day, back and forth, adults and kids. So no, Remington is heavily used, especially in the mornings before they go to school, and then right away after school. But all day long, it's nonstop there, and it's actually a lot of our parks are like that. And then Underwood Park has the multi-purpose field that we just resodded, and it's doing great. It definitely is a plus, and that's the same turf that we're going to be putting at a few other parks to help.
And the pickleball courts at Remington, are they just first come, first serve?
They are. They're first come, first serve. It's open courts. We don't have a allocation to reserve our courts, but it is a first come, first serve that's there.
So now we've got pickleball at La Ladera, Remington, and Quartz Ranch. Is there?
And John Denver as well.
Oh, John Denver, okay.
Has yes.
Site. Very good. Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Peterson?
I just wanted to say thank you for putting the breakdown of some of the maintenance requests for those 2 parks. It's nice to see that we don't have really, a notable vandalism.
And it's a plus that there's that many people there too. For the vandalism, I think that does have it, but it's when there's that many people and people take pride in it instead. We may have the trash and things that were like that, but the graffiti is what we don't have at some of those parks. And we do have it at other parks, but and it could be a weekend or something that we come into. It's like that, but those parks are, knock on wood, that they are lower in vandalism lately. So that's a plus.
Thank you.
Just to throw it out there, because I know there was one slide that had adult leagues that you're trying to expand on. Definitely pickleball would be a good idea for one. Just put that out there.
Second that. All right, let's move on to item 10, Commissioner Reports and Committee Activities. Commissioners, have anything to report on from last month? Any comments? Or? Commissioner Peterson?
Sure, I've got some things.
We gotta start.
I know that myself and all of our fellow commissioners were involved in the, great, on my calendar. Went to
The joint
wrong one.
workshop?
Oh, that's the wrong calendar, that's why. Yeah, we had the parks, placemaking discussion with the Hunden Partners consultants. And that was actually a very cool kind of discussion that we had. And, you know, just getting a kind of a feel for, obviously, you know, what we all want from all of our different perspectives. You know, some of us come from new builds, some of us live in older areas, and we all have different lifestyles. And, you know, the idea of putting together something that is going to be Menifee's identity, you know, that's actually very exciting. And so that was I really enjoyed that little meeting, and I hope we have more of those. What else we got here? The Ready, Set, Future event that we had earlier in the month of February was very fun. I actually took my 2 little boys, and they really enjoyed the police officers and the firefighters. They weren't too interested in the trade schools or the junior colleges, but you know, it actually showcases some excellent options for you know, students, high school students that really are not ready for, you know, a college degree, you know, and these days, I mean, really, some of these trade schools actually offer something that is more beneficial financially and long-term than going to a 4-year college and paying off student loans. And so that was kind of a very cool event, and I'd like to see some more participation in that, you know, next year. Let's see, what else did we do? The community center design. I believe we all participated, most of us participated in that one. Yeah, that's coming along, and as we move forward, there's just, I mean, it's really coming, it's taking place, it's coming together, and things are falling right where they should be. And, you know, aside from Councilmember Carwin having a stage on the roof to play music for us, everything else seems to be on par. And there's a couple things that we need to work out, I think, just, you know, some little details, but, you know, the designs are beautiful, and I think that we're catering to what the residents are looking for. Let's see, we also had the amphitheater ad hoc committee meeting. Would you like to take that one for me? Take over?
Sure. I would say that, to me, is so exciting. I think it goes more in alignment with the tourism and really trying to bring our city as a hub. I'm definitely one who I would prefer to do as much business and spend as much money here. And that's one of those things where you look forward to, like, oh, we can have summer concerts and a lot of activities that can be centered around that location. But watching it come together, especially as we're getting kind of closer to the tail end, I think the energy and the excitement is there. And hopefully we'll see the same thing in the community once we have that first, like, opening day to welcome everyone there. I would say we touched on a lot of important areas as far as, like, traffic control and protecting the residents there and not having them feel impacted. So I definitely would say there is a good circle of people who are looking at this amphitheater from so many different areas and in so many different angles. And I feel like it's going to be beneficial. It'll help as the city grows, and then hopefully it'll be a nice economic boost. Because as you can see, a lot of this stuff is another line item, and we want to make sure that we can financially support the city with this. So I'm super excited about it. I don't know about you, Laz, but I'm really excited about it. And I can't wait until fall comes when it opens. But I'll hand the mic back to you. I don't know if you were done or not.
I'll just add to that, you know, some of the things that we're doing with the amphitheater, you know, they might, obviously we're discussing the opportunity for a third party to come in and manage a lot of the events and the money coming in and out. But, you know, it's the economic side effect that will hit our city in a positive way. You know, things that the actual city of Menifee, our city itself, this building and its activities, you know, outside of that, you know, the local businesses, I think, are going to, when we do have some fun events, they are going to prosper. And, you know, I mean, that's great for looking forward into the future. And so I'm really excited for, yeah, we got to go in with a bang and just keep it on going. So.
Here. Anything else, Jen?
Yeah, I feel like this month was busy, and it was a shorter month when you think about it. Yeah, no, there was a lot going on. I had the opportunity to do the Teen Awards, or Teen of the Quarter, which is great. I know they got acknowledged yesterday, but it's so refreshing to see, well, not necessarily refreshing. It's refreshing to see how resilient our youth are, because some of these children, because that's where they are, that attend our local high schools, have overcome a lot to not have been on earth for so long. So I was really impressed by that. I was impressed at how well a lot of our students are doing academically, and being able to juggle school, volunteer hours, sports, and then do that all seamlessly. Not only for themselves to acknowledge, but for like a teacher or someone out in the community to write this up and submit it to us to review, to vote on. I was very impressed by. But I think this is like my second or third year doing it, and every single time I'm super excited. So if you guys ever get an opportunity to do it, I highly recommend, hopefully not kicking me out, but I highly recommend you take advantage of it.
I'm looking forward to being a part of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely love it every single time. The amphitheater, great. I think we're moving along the lines of the right path. I really enjoyed that meeting that we all had to discuss kind of like tourism and things that we want to see in our community, because the reality is we don't want to just be like Target and houses. And I think that was a good reminder of like, no, actually it would be fun to have a fair here, if we have an open space, or, more things to engage our residents, and things where our families and our kids can make these memories. And having that discussion really got the wheels turning of, we have so much opportunity, so much room for growth, and hopefully we'll see it as we are growing and developing. Because again, I would hate to see just like warehouses, couple shops, and then homes. Like, I would imagine no one wants their city to just be that. But I'm excited. And then last but not least, the community center design was a very interesting experience, because it was, the city council and then us sitting there. And it was interesting to hear everyone's different perspectives of, is this a community center or a theater, or is it in the middle? And if it's in the middle, which one do we prioritize more? But I think it was a very good dialogue. It brought up a lot of great points, and I feel like we're definitely on the right track, and we have a good balance. It's not just everyone, yes, for this. I think hopefully we'll be a good representation of what our actual community at large will want to see and want to hear. So it's been a busy month, I would say that.
Yeah, I didn't do much this month. I was kind of busy with starting my business, but I did participate on that call with the 5 of us. I thought that was great. We all come from different places, and I think we all shared ideas. And I guess my question is, are we going to have a follow-up on that? I don't remember if we were with that group.
On the Hunden group, I think there's a workshop, in-person workshop at some.
Yes, so I think the interviews are done with each of the commissions, or they're in the progress of finishing those. But we do have business and community workshops upcoming. So on the 27th, I believe it is the community workshop, which you would be welcome to attend as well and hear what the public has to say.
Very good. Anyone else? Yeah, I didn't get a chance to attend the 2 cities events, Ready, Set, Future, or Art Affair this month, but I did appreciate being a part of that Hunden Consultants conference call, and also I really appreciated meeting with City Council on the joint workshop for the community center, and look forward to continued progress there. I do want to take a moment just to mention, since our last meeting, that the city lost a wonderful person in Chelsea Bollinger, our community services events coordinator, who passed away on February 17th. I'd just like to read something. Chelsea personified dedication and care within our community, and her commitment to her role was evident in every event she planned, each filled with purpose and a genuine desire to make a positive impact on the lives of those she served. I thoroughly enjoyed working with her as a volunteer, and she always made me feel like my work was important. Chelsea went above and beyond her duties, always ensuring that our community events were not just gatherings, but meaningful experiences that brought people together. Her loss will be felt profoundly, not only through my family, but by the entire community that she served with such passion and love. And our thoughts and deepest condolences go out to her family and friends, co-workers, and all those who were touched by her warmth and generosity. Chelsea will dearly be missed. In that light, I'd like to make a motion, to make a recommendation to City Council, if necessary, that in honor of Chelsea, I'd like to recommend that we rename the North Annex at the Cay Cisneros Senior Center to be called the Bollinger Hall. And I wanted to get some thoughts from my fellow commissioners on that.
I completely support that.
I support it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Just if you could pass that on. I'm not sure if there's anything else that the city is considering doing, but at least that was my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. As of right now, we're still regrouping, but we absolutely welcome any consideration for any future plans. We do have like a facility naming policy that might enable us to make that happen. So I can definitely make sure that information is sent out, and if that's the recommendation of the commission, we can pull that together for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Item number 11, future agenda requests. Commissioners, any future agenda items that you'd like to see added from our conversations today? Commissioner Peterson?
You know, with our new Menifee city resident, Christopher Carnes, being in the Valleywide board, you know, I'd like to see a lot more, well, at least for our commission, and maybe even having some participation with the committee that, you know, the ad hoc committee, the Parks ad hoc committee. I think it would be great to start pushing more, you know, information, mainly just information. You know, right now, currently, I'd like to see, you know, for me personally, I think I've voiced it, that I'd like to know, or I'd like to see some agreement between Valleywide and the city of Menifee to share information for park allocation, field allocation. That way we can both make better decisions and better resource management. But yeah, you know, I'd love to be more involved, and I'd love to see the commission hear more about it on a very regular basis, so.
Along that line, does staff have a standing meeting with Valleywide to coordinate?
We do not have a standing meeting, so we work usually on issue-specific things. Right now, our focus is completing that fiscal impact analysis, because that's what we had committed to do. It had been identified in the strategic plan, so that's our next big piece. But certainly in terms of discussions and engaging them on programming and ways that we can partner more, we can reach out and look at ways that maybe we can share some more updates about what Valleywide is doing within our community.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if we had quarterly or semi-annual kind of update on just what Valleywide's doing, their programming, and what so that our residents get to hear firsthand what's happening. I think a lot of us are still in the dark on what's going on in Valleywide parks in our city. And I'd like to just put on the calendar at some point when Bryce, when it's safe and appropriate, I'd love to have the commission take a tour of the amphitheater site. All right, any other comments or questions, commissioners?
Well, last meeting I opened a can of worms by asking if e-bikes were allowed on trails. Did we ever come to a conclusion on that?
I believe the new ordinance is allowing e-bikes. They're just setting a limit of 20 miles per hour. Most of the Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes can go maximum 20 miles per hour. I think the electric motor kind of stops at 20 at a maximum. The Class 3s can go at 28 or more, but I believe those will be allowed, but there'll be a speed limit. Signs posted on the trails that says 20 miles per hour. Am I mistaken with that, Mariana?
No, that's correct. Yeah, the ordinance is very specific that in parks and trails, 20 miles per hour is the limit. And we'll, again, have to coordinate with Riverside County because the Salt Creek Trail is their trail to maintain, to ensure, that there's signage or postings of that information. And same thing with our parks. When we talk about updating our park signage, we'll have to update that to include where e-bikes are not allowed, so.
Sure, yeah, because I know sometimes people ride their bikes along the sidewalks in the parks and stuff, and maybe they're coming from someplace else, and that kind of is understood. But, and I think they did clarify in the ordinance too, because initially it was worded that made it seem like you couldn't go over 20 miles per hour on streets, but they clarified that's not that wasn't the intent.
Yes, they clarified that the higher, I think it was the 28 miles per hour for the class 3s are allowable on what they consider highways, which are roadways.
Yes.
The thing is, stopping distance is never being discussed. I don't know how to interject that as late in the game, but if you're stopping on a dirt trail versus a pavement, there's a big difference, especially if you're going up and down, as some of our trails do.
I think the ordinance calls out some things that, protocols and courtesies and things like, hey, on your left or things like that, people that are riding bikes and on these multi-use paths need to follow. And certainly, you always have to yield to pedestrians, whether you're on a trail or a sidewalk. And
Yeah, and Menifee PD, when they did their presentation, they are going to make a number of opportunities and options for residents for additional outreach. They have an e-bike training program that's both available online, and they are working closely with the school districts. And as e-bikes become more prevalent, I think the education and outreach component is going to be really important in ensuring the compliancy with the new ordinance.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Anything else, folks? All right, it's 8 o'clock, and I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
All right.
I'll second that.
Very good. Then this meeting of the Parks Commission is adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you for those who are watching online.